And good evening, everybody. It's a big night for Evenings LA from the shores of Santa Monica, California tonight. May 19th, 2022. The great news tonight is that a forced stimulus check has landed in every U.S. state. And I'm going to show you over this 1 hour broadcast, State of the Very End, how to get these incredible checks. They're huge. You deserve them. They're a lot of money. Not $100, upwards of $80,000. Bear market? Yes. The latest details on what Wall Street did today and why it's important to become a member and go to the top of the chat and get that membership signed up. Then sign up for that subscription. So also subscribe and then get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Forced stimulus checks have landed in every U.S. state. These are massive checks, and I'm going to show you how to get these incredible checks over this 1 hour broadcast, State of the Very End, because there's surprising details developing by the minute, by the hour, over this incredible broadcast. And tonight, we have a lot of breaking news as the housing starts were revealed, and they were not good. The bear market very more pronounced. One major U.S. bank signaling we're going to recession, and this could indicate as well that the recession could be coming later this year. The developing details, plus Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin meeting to negotiate the Build Back Better Act. It's like 2021 all over again. It's a big night, and the big details on Evenings LALATE start right now from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good evening, and tonight we learn a lot about what's going on with Build Back Better Act and what isn't. But the good news for you is that there are big forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state, and what you need to do is get those incredible checks across the board. For the first time ever on Evenings LALATE, I have a new warning. The warning is that we could potentially be in recession by the end of this year, not next year. If that's the signal, then you need to get these stimulus checks right away. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state, and go to the top of the chat and get that membership signed up to get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, because those big checks are available right now, and more people will be looking for them if this economy downturns sooner than later. Let's go over all the developing details tonight, starting with those new recessionary worries tonight. It was back in February this year that I said in February, we're going to recession next year in 2023. Tonight, lots of banks are now saying what I had predicted months earlier. Wells Fargo, one of the major U.S. banks in the United States, said the latest comments in the last few hours. Its head of the bank, Charlie Schaff, at the Wall Street Journal's Future of Everything Festival, said that there's no question we're heading into an economic downturn, and if you think it's going to be hard to avoid, it's going to be hard to avoid some kind of recession. There we go. This comes after I reported this back in February, going into recession for 2 years. I was followed by Deutsche Bank in April, who said that there will be a major recession. Then I was followed by Morgan Stanley last week that said the risk of recession has gone up materially very quickly. I think it's going to be very hard to avoid some kind of recession, says that head of Wells Fargo today. The housing start data that came out today also signals that recession is on the horizon. All this data is good for Build Back Better Act, because remember, the way that the people get checks is when the economy is not doing well, people want to help you. And over the last week, I told you that the White House was renegotiating the Build Back Better Act and trying to get it done for the midterm elections. What's the breaking news today? Tonight, the breaking news is that everything I reported was accurate. Number one, the White House is renegotiating the Build Back Better Act tonight. Number two, they're trying to get it done by the midterm elections. The only thing incorrect in my reporting was who's doing the negotiations. It's not Joe and Joe. No, get ready. Your cast of characters are Chuck and Joe Manchin. Chuck and Joe Manchin have been negotiating the Build Back Better Act on Wednesday, on Thursday, twice this week, and this is the most meetings they've had on Build Back Better Act in a long time. Why? They want to get it done by the midterm elections, says the two individuals. Let's go over the details of the Build Back Better Act versus those forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. There is a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. It's law. Viewers have gotten it. Lots of money. Up to $80,000 of checks in every U.S. state since March. Available for you tonight. These forced stimulus checks did not require an act of Congress, done by Joe Biden, sent out by executive action, and viewers have got to them. I'm going to show you how to get them later in this recording. Those are the forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state done by Joe Biden. Congress, meantime, is working on that Build Back Better Act to get those checks out the door. That's not a law. That's not a vote. But what are they looking at? I had told you over the last week they're trying to get that vote by Memorial Day weekend. You know when Memorial Day weekend is? It's just around the corner. Number two, that they're trying to get it by the midterm elections, the money in your hand. To get it in your hand before the midterm elections, that means they got to send out the checks before you vote by mail. And you're going to vote by mail as early as August and September. That means they got to get those checks out this summer. This gets really interesting. How much checks are in Build Back Better Act? This is where it gets interesting tonight, folks, because we don't know what is actually the substance of those negotiations between Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer. All we know is that the negotiations are back on, baby. Will the Build Back Better Act sustain the elements of 2021 with those 3 clauses and 3 add-ons, or will it look totally different? We don't know. That is why you got to get those 4 stimulus checks that are coming up later in this recording in every U.S. state, because we know those, they're law. They're there. In the case of Build Back Better Act, we don't know what will survive by the time that the vote potentially happens on Memorial Day weekend, 2022. $15,000 to $80,000 of 4 stimulus checks in that Build Back Better Act last year, and that had 3 add-ons. $25,000 for the purchase of your first home, $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities, and a proposed MSC that would pay $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. Lots of add-ons, but also lots of clusters like that first cluster. Home hazard pay for essential workers, $4,000 of elder care, $4,000 of care for young children, $3,600 for the young children, home repairs, $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, and then a lot of other money like nutrition. Footnote, the reason why Elon Musk was slamming the Build Back Better Act this week is he doesn't like cluster number 1. Why? Because it gives you $12,500 to buy a competitor vehicle to a Tesla. It does not give you that money towards a Tesla. It's actually to do it against Tesla's investors. Now let's go to cluster number 2. Home repairs. Whoa, that was removed and it's now check A. Coming up later in this video. Paid leave, a lot of money for that. If you have to stay home due to sickness or illness from work, that is up to $1,700 a week. Single individual, married couple, huge, up to $4,000 to $6,000 a year. That is paid leave. And then that third cluster, which gets really interesting in view of the breaking news tonight. Here we go. In that third clusters, lots of free internet for all, farmers checks, and then seniors, lots of items like dental, vision, hearing, the Medicaid gap fix, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, dental, vision, and more. Who did we all hear that from in 2021? If you remember his name, which senator it is, write in the live chat. And if you wrote Bernie Sanders, you got it right. Now let's go over why this is breaking news tonight. We know tonight that the negotiations are underway for the Build Back Better Act, as I have been reporting for 2 weeks. But I had the cast of characters in the negotiations wrong. We learned tonight that the negotiations are really between only 2 people, Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin. Yes, Bernie Sanders is not part of the negotiations. So if you really wanted that dental, vision, and hearing, these are items that Bernie Sanders is not in those meetings, not in those negotiations to rally for. And what did Joe Manchin talk about? Well, Joe Manchin took his digs, just like Bernie Sanders took his digs at Joe Manchin last weekend. The latest comments from Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer are great. They're great quotes tonight. Why? These are people that really like each other. These 2 guys really like each other. They have worked many, many years, and they know they can get this done, and they want to get it done. The question is, what is the it? Yes, the breaking news tonight is that the Build Back Better Act negotiators, Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer, both Democrats, both senators, want to get this done, really adore each other, but have a interesting history. The history is the progressives, of which Chuck Schumer is not one and in which Joe Manchin is not one. And that was what was addressed in a series of new quotes today. When Chuck Schumer said when Joe Manchin says he praised Chuck Schumer because he has a lot of stuff to do in fact, dealing with those outside wing people in his party. Here's the quote from Joe Manchin. I think I understand Chuck, but Senator Schumer has a pretty far left caucus at the moment. He's referring to Bernie Sanders and the progressives. And with that, there are people that are overwhelming majority who are going to have a different direction. And he's the leader of that. I understand it's a very difficult position. We have a very good understanding. I think it's a very good relationship. Great. This is interesting, folks. Why is the dynamic so important? Because these are two people that can get it done. These are two people who agree upon a lot of things. Two people who really like each other. People who get along. And the progressives are not part of the negotiations. Interesting. Now, outside the club, not allowed back in, as that 50 Cent lyric once said, is everyone else. And those comments are coming in with the people who are not part of the club, that are not going to be part of the negotiations. What you need to know is that you're going to see a lot of these quotes from people who are not those two people, Joe Manchin or Chuck Schumer, and you got to take the quote and throw it out the window because they don't know what's going on. In fact, they actually say, I don't know what's going on. We have individuals like Dick Durbin, who says, I have no idea what's going on. Then we have Liz Warren, who says that we've let people down, but hopefully we get something done. Again, Liz Warren, progressive, not part of the negotiations. Here are some of the quotes that came in. Joe Manchin says, I have to answer the people who I represent, and I have my job to do that. But we have people who, like Liz Warren, says, it's a very difficult period. People are really confused on what the deal is. And she says there's no evidence that there is one thing that has changed from day to day. Of course, she's not in the negotiations, and she's not going to have an update from Chuck Schumer because he's not going to cue her in. Then we had other quotes that came in from John Tester, Democrat from Montana, says, I have absolutely no idea what's going on in the negotiations. It's been totally silent to the rest of the caucus of what's happening. But they have a relationship. This is Tester. This is really good news. Listen to this carefully. They have a really good relationship, Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer, that they could do something absolutely. They better hurry up because it's becoming an issue. There you go. This is the real big issue at tonight, that the details of the negotiations will not be unearthed during the negotiations, and what's going to happen is that the negotiations will finally solidify themselves, and there'll be a surprise. If we get to the right piece of legislation that's able to fight inflation and give us energy independence, we can do it, says Joe Manchin, who quote tonight. And we'll be able to get in the cleanest fashion. I don't know if you have to put a time limit on it, but you got to do it right. Takeaway 1, Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer want to get it done. 2, they think they can do it together. 3, they've excluded everyone else from the negotiations. And 4, they really want to do it by the Memorial Day weekend. That's just a few days away. So the next 7 days on this channel, you heard me right, are going to be fire. Fire, because Memorial Day weekend is just days away. And remember, there really is a time limit, despite what Joe Manchin says. There really is a time limit, and this is why it's heating up. We'll have the latest details on that tomorrow on Mornings LA. But let's turn now to the other part of the Build Back Better Act that also got a familiar face. Who are they? The problem creators. Here we go. It's like 2021 all over again. The problem creators are back, or at least the Gothenheimer gang. In 2021, you met the problem creators of 2020, what I affectionately called a group of people who create problems, don't solve them. They call themselves the problem solvers. They didn't solve anything, as Nancy Pelosi often threw them out of her offices. Then in 2021, you met them as the Gothenheimer gang, led by Representative Josh Gothenheimer out of New Jersey. And what did they say then? They said then they were not going to support Build Back Better Act unless Nancy Pelosi put into the House version of the BBB their provision on the SALT cap. Guess what? They got everything that she could put in there for them. And today they were back out talking about, yes, the SALT cap. Interesting. Let me first go over their quote, and then I'll have the analysis for you. The latest quote that came out today was from Gothenheimer, Lewinsky, Porter, and Susie, who specifically talked about Congress didn't give the IRS permission to interpret the tax law as they see fit, and which they've done to dismantling the charitable deductions, said Gothenheimer in a new statement today. We must do everything, including restoring the SALT deduction and help cut taxes and make life more affordable for families and small businesses. What is the SALT cap? It is the ability to deduct your state taxes on the federal tax return. Very important in some states like New York and New Jersey. It was removed by the Trump administration, and then Gothenheimer levied or fought to get it back added into Build Back Better Act. So why is he talking about it tonight? You do the analysis. I bet you're going to come to the same conclusion as I. Because the Build Back negotiations are heating up again right tonight. And when they are, these individuals want to come on in and say, make sure that their provisions are in there as well. When you look at the stock market tonight, it's very troubling what's going on. And the troubling situation's far from over. In fact, tonight, we have new indication, at least on this channel, that my predictions that we're going into recession in January 2023, as I said in February this year, may have been a little bit too far out. Why? To define a recession, you have to have 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. Could we tonight have indications of 2 quarters of negative GDP growth before 2023? I am starting to see some signaling that maybe we can. Let's go back to February. In February of this year, I said, we're going into recession for 2 years starting in 2023. When I said that, people thought I was crazy. Tonight, every single report mentions recession. Now tonight, the directory, the way in which it's heading to recession is changing very quickly. First, when you look at what recession means, it means 2 quarters, which is a lot of months, of negative GDP growth. Well, we were supposed to be 7.1% in the month of March. We came to 6.9%. And I'm projecting we're going to 0 by December. But could we fall faster, quicker down that rabbit hole? Tonight, we don't know just yet. We do know that the housing market is a recession, in my opinion, and the auto industry is a recession. But what about the whole U.S. economy? If the whole U.S. economy is in recession later this year, not in 2023, then it came much faster, and you're going to need that stimulus more important than ever before. Let me explain to you how this is so big for stimulus. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. My job from day one of this channel is getting people money. And I've gotten you money, and I'm getting you money tonight, and it's later coming up in this recording. Stay with me. But what's going to happen in a few months from now when this economy starts to spiral downward faster, more difficult, more pronounced, is millions of Americans are going to look for that stimulus, and then they are looking for it now. You're looking for the stimulus. I'm reporting on the stimulus right now. Get ready for a few months from now when people are going to just be surging into this channel saying, I have big problems. I have big financial problems. I need stimulus. Do you got anything for me? And at that point, the question is whether this forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state will still have funds for them. I don't know. But here's one thing I do know tonight. And this is where I got to put fire under your feet. Tonight, if the indication of recession in 2023 is pretty more firm than when I was one of those fringe people in February of this year reporting it's coming, then you're going to need stimulus in 2023. But will there be stimulus? Tonight, I absolutely have no idea whether Congress will ever do another round of stimulus in 2023. We're dealing with the one of now for 2022. My takeaway is for you, you are having economic issues right now with this economy. You need this stimulus, forced stimulus right now. But what happens if we go into recession later this year, not next year? Boy, yeah, that's why you need to get all those incredible checks. That's why you can't wait a minute to become a member of this channel. Go to the top of this chat and under the description of this video and sign up for that membership to get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The membership newsletter delivers all the incredible information about those forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state because you need it right now. You cannot wait. If you think the economy is bad now, if you think you're suffering financial pressure right now, then I've been warning you in 2023 it's going to be really bad then. But am I a little bit too late in the game? Well, I was the first to project negative GDP growth that sends you into recession next year. But tonight I'm worried that maybe the GDP growth will stunt itself later this year when we could be in recession later this year, not early next year. If that's the case, you really need all these incredible checks across the board tonight. The data coming in from the analysts when talking about recession is fascinating tonight. We have 2 different types of analysts tonight of what they're saying with recession. One is saying that the recession in Europe will be much worse than the one in the United States. The reason for their analysis or conclusion like that is they're saying the Europeans are more dependent upon the energy issues of Russia and are not as energy independent as the United States is. Other analysts are saying, oh, no. The recession in the United States of 2023 will be far worse than the recession in Europe in 2023. Why do they say this one? And this is the one you got to really listen to. They're saying because in 2023, they don't know whether there'll be any stimulus for American citizens who have gotten a massive amount of stimulus from 2020 and 2021 to buffer the pandemic, to buffer the start of inflation. But if you go into recession in 2023, there'll be nothing potentially, or at least there's nothing announced yet, for Americans to battle the recession. That's why they're saying the recession in the United States will be far worse than Europe, that hasn't been so dependent on stimulus as we have as well. This brings us back to those forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. If there's literally a wad of cash in front of you, a big sack of cash, big platter of dollar bills, $100 bills, you need to grab them. You need to grab them right now, because I have no idea what's happening in 2023. I literally have no idea. I know that we'll be in recession, but I have no idea what this congressional group, whatever they're going to look like by the end of the midterm elections, will be doing for you in 2023. And that situation will economically be a lot worse financially for you than now. And will Congress be stepping up more to give you money then, or less, or do nothing at all in 2023? I don't know what's going to happen in 2023. That is why I need you to get financial independence now in 2022, because I know there's money available right now. I'm getting people money right now, and I'm going to show you how to get that money right now across this channel, across this recording. Now let's go back into the breaking details that came in today, because boy, I told you it's a bad day across the board for economic data. The housing starts fell to its lowest levels since the start of the pandemic. We learned early this morning as well. Sales of previously owned homes in the month of April fell to their lowest levels we have seen since the start of the pandemic. Ouch. Here we go. If you've been with this channel for a few weeks, you've heard that the housing starts have been down 4 consecutive months. So how bad was the data today? The data today was continuing to be bad. Now let's understand, the data that's coming in today for the housing industry does not feel the burden or the impact of the mortgage rates higher, because these are homes that went into contract to sell in February and March, and that closed a month later. So these are homes that people bought in February and March before mortgage rates went from 3.8 to 5.45. You're not going to feel the impact of this bad mortgage market until maybe 2 months from now. But the data that came in signaled from the National Association of Realtors that we're moving back to pre-pandemic levels activities, and I expect further declines, says Lawrence Yun, chief economist of the group tonight. The median home sale over the month of April was 391,000, an increase of 15% for the year to date compared to the year to date. But existing homes declined 2.4% compared to the month before when seasonally adjusted. The issue that I'm looking at is the inventory. Is there a big inventory of homes? Are they sitting on the market? No. So the homes are selling very quickly. That's good news. They're closing about an average of 17 days on the market. That's really good. But again, this is when the mortgage rates were in February at 3.66%. They're tonight at 5.45%. So it's really comparing apples to oranges. We don't know the impact of that until 2 months from now. When you look at the stock market, the data was also really bad today. Remember last night I told you about the implosion of Target. That was one of the most watched shows we've had on this channel for a long time. When Target reported in astronomically horrible earnings reports, and the worst plummet of its stock in a long generation, down 24% on Wednesday. Today, Target was down again. And this comes as Walmart and Target continue to signal that they do not have consumer demand. Consumers are not paying for the increased price of the goods in the store, and that consumers are being hurt by the inflationary pressures. Lower consumer demand, overemployment in stores. Yes, stores are indicating they have too many employees and they cannot sustain these number of employees. Does that mean that unemployment is coming? It's likely signaling that there's going to be a change in that employment situation. But the data tonight from people like Jonathan Krinsky, chief market technician with BTIG, is that the issue now is that real appears to be nowhere to hide. They came for consumer names and they still got beaten down. In other words, money is rotating in cash between different sectors. It won't be a straight line down. It's a confirmation that seller rallies in bear markets are much easier than buying dips, says Krinsky. In the event that we slide a recession imminently, we see a market sell-off going well below average, says Deutsche Bank, into the upper half of historical range and given an initial elevated valuation, down 40% or more for the S&P 500 3000, writes Binkley Chadha, chief global strategist of Deutsche Bank, in a new note tonight. Can you imagine the market down 40% from where it is tonight? Yes, folks, this is not good, and this is why you got to get a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. The latest details tonight is that what you think is bad now is just the start. It was 3 weeks ago this downward started. It started with Amazon reporting very bad corporate earnings that same week. Apple saying the supply chain disruptions really hurting us. We can't get those component parts into our iPhone later this year, Q3. And we're going to project downward because the supply chain disruption in China is really hurting our bottom line. The week after that was that FOMC meeting with Jay Powell at the Federal Reserve. Half basis point increase, and then came the implosion. Stocks plummeting at 1,300 points, then another 1,000 points. Day after day, stocks down 5%, 7%, day after day after day. Stocks are now down for the year to date. Many stocks are down for 2 years to date. Crypto is really vacillating in very dangerous territory. Bitcoin trying to stay above 30,000, it can't. Ethereum trying to stay above 2,000, it can't. Decentraland's trying to stay over $1, it cannot. Then when you turn to the price of gasoline, how much you paying the gas at the pump? Post in the live chat right now. Yesterday I paid $6.33 unleaded domestic US. Could not believe it. But if you remember this channel, you see what's happening with the price of gasoline in the United States. Membership Newsletter Nightly features the number. It was 414 just a few days ago, then 424, then 434. Suddenly it's 445. What has happened? Price of Brent crude hasn't really moved that much. It's 112. So Brent crude is stable at 112, and the price of gasoline is going higher. But what about China? What about Jay Powell? Jay Powell, we're just days away from that June FOMC meeting, and he's going to do a half basis point increase. Imagine a half basis point increase in view of the entire environment that we're dealing with right now. That half basis point increase, again, will hurt more the mortgage industry, the housing industry, dependent upon mortgages, the auto industry, dependent upon car loans, the small business industry, dependent upon revolving credit or credit card debt. All these things will raise interest rates, but will it get down inflation? I say no. Buried in all this news, of course, of catastrophic reports from Target and horrible data coming from the housing market, were those comments from Jay Powell on, I believe it was Monday. Yes, it was Monday at the Wall Street Journal luncheon. And Jay Powell said, if I don't get inflation down, I'm going to keep on hitting it. Yeah, that was the scariest quote of the entire week, and it's being buried amongst this monster of bad economic data. What did Jay Powell say? His head of the Federal Reserve, he said, if I don't get inflation down, I'm going to keep on hitting it consistently until I get it down. What is he going to do? He's going to do a half basis point. Not just 2 more FOMC meetings as we thought, a week ago. It could be 5 more meetings. It could be in the next year. And will he bring us into recession? Of course he'll bring us into recession. He already has brought us into recession. That's why you need to get that forced stimulus check that is in every U.S. state. Because Jay Powell is hitting really hard, and he's not going to let up. He is not going to let up on what he's doing. And as he hits really hard, we head into recession, the economy downturns, and all those interest rate bearing instruments that you buy things upon are going to be negatively impacted. What about SS300, though? Joe Biden is promising to swap COLA for inflation. And by doing that, that would raise your benefits up $200 more per month and then $100 thereafter later this year if inflation stays at 4%. But Joe hasn't made that phone call, and this is where Joe Biden's responsible for any negative poll ratings. His disapproval rating is over 70% right now, and this one is his fault. All he has to do is pick up the phone and contact the Social Security Administration head. As he wrote at Joe Biden, swap COLA for inflation. That would lock in, what? $200 more per month. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits. Because inflation tonight is still tracking at 8%. I mean, repeating the message, yeah, there comes that same message again. It's still tracking at 8%, and if Joe made that phone call, you'd lock in $200 a month. Not just this year, not just this month, but lifetime, because once your benefits go up, they never go down. If inflation tracks at 4% later this year, you go up another $100. That's SS300. So this is a no-brainer, Joe. Make the phone call. That's why you want to go on social media and tag the president with the hashtag campaign, hashtag Joe Make the Call. Tell him to contact the Social Administration head and swap that COLA for inflation. In the second half of tonight's recording, we're going to go over those incredible four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state. You need to get them. If I put fire under your feet early in this recording, I hope I did, because the economic downturn of this economy is happening in 2023. But tonight, I question whether it's going to happen even earlier. And then I certainly question what's going to happen in 2023. Will there even be stimulus next year? I don't know. There's been no mention of it for next year. So that's why I need you to get every pot of cash that's available tonight. And in the second half of this video, I'm going to go over those big pots of money. Be back with you in 60 seconds. But first, don't forget to become a member during the commercial break, because that is where people are cleaning up. The members of this channel are cleaning up with massive checks, upwards of $80,000 from 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. Become a member. The link's under the video. Join tonight. Purple Power, Calcino VIP, or Purple Hawks. Then get that newsletter delivered from me to you, handwritten by me, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It features all those 4 stimulus checks, the links to go right in and apply, the links to get the checks right away. You can't wait. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as a big broadcast from the shores of Santa Monica continues on Evenings LALATE. See you back as the breaking news continues tonight. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the details continue right now on a big evening's LA for May 19th, 2022. Hope you're doing well. It's a big night from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good evening and welcome back to the second half. A four stimulus check is in every U.S. state and you need to get that check. It's massive sums of money. No time or place to wait for Build Back Better Act. No time or place to wait for anything else that has been promised or mentioned or negotiated or legislated over, because these checks are in every U.S. state and they're lots of money. It's enough money in some cases to last you for the rest of this year. And you need to get it because the opportunity to get these astronomical sums of money may not be around indefinitely. How do you do it? Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. And step 3, get that incredible newsletter. We're going to go over each of those checks starting right now. There is a four stimulus check in every U.S. state, and what are they? They are check A, they are check B, and they are check C. And I'm going to go over each of these incredible checks one at a time. Check A is $6,500. Check B is $15,000 to $80,000. Check C is upwards of $140,000. And in some states, there's a check D as well. Now, let me go over how we got here and where we're going. Good evening. The details started back in March of this year when I looked, and you had looked as well, at Build Back Better Act, and it wasn't getting done. And I said, I need to help these people. I've helped you before when we sat back and we saw negotiations not going anywhere. Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi in 2020, when they hadn't gotten that second stimulus package done, I said, you need money, and I found it. It's what became purple on this channel, which then became third stimulus, which then became check C. There was not a lot of money then. I got viewers $250,000. Like Tyrone and his family of four saved their home by getting them rent in the thick of Christmas in 2020 for 4 or 5 months. But in March of this year, I noticed that Build Back Better Act was still not getting done, and I said, enough is enough. My job, finding you money. My job, finding you lots of money. And I looked high and low, because finding stimulus is an art form. And when it comes to this work of art, I'm the Picasso, because no one can find more money for you across the board. I've been doing this for a while, since the very first days of this channel in March of 2020. I've gotten people EIDL grants and EIDL loans and PUAs and PPPs and LWAs and lots of other things that all involved answering a series of questions the right way, filling out an application, making a phone call, putting your name in, and getting massive payouts. When 2021 came around, what happened? In 2021, I said going into the year that I had a preview of a new package called the third stimulus. I said, I think I can get you on average $45,000 from this, $15,000 from this third stimulus. When it became law, I got viewers $45,000. But what you did at the time is you really pounced hard and got big sums of money. I'm so proud of you. Some people just elsewhere, not on this channel, got a stimulus check and ran for it. It ran out. They have no more money. And that is why in March of this year, I found you 1, 2, 3, lots of checks. Let's go over each of those incredible checks starting right now. Check A is a four stimulus check in every U.S. state. It's $6,500 to $12,000. What is that check? What are the details? Let's go over that first check right now. It is $6,500 to $12,000. That four stimulus check in every U.S. state has the following income qualifications. Single individual, $75,000 or less, yes, you're eligible. Married couple, $150,000 or less, yes, you're eligible. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, yes, you're eligible. It's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. How do you get that check A? Very simple. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go into the membership newsletter delivered by me to you via the YouTube alert system Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. In that membership newsletter, you go right down to Check A, and when you're at Check A, there's a link. You go right in and apply. Yes, it's an online application. Yes, that's the only way you apply for Check A and get that incredible check. That's the first check. That's in every U.S. state, a four stimulus check. The next one is Check B. Check B is a four stimulus check in every U.S. state. Look at this massive payout. My goodness. $80,000, and viewers are getting it. One viewer yesterday got $25,000. She had gotten thousands of dollars from this channel this month as well, but she got $25,000 from this at the nick of time, and she said, it saved my home, LALATE. I love you. I've had viewers get $66,000. Average is about $66,000 to $80,000. It's a four stimulus check. Income qualification is so simple. Single individual, $75,000 or less. A married couple, $150,000 or less. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits, you go get it. How do you get that check B? Again, it's so simple. You just first subscribe, then 2, become a member, then 3, go into the membership newsletter. It's all in the membership newsletter. You go down to Check B in the membership newsletter and click the link, and it sends you into the website to apply. And you get that incredible Check B from the membership newsletter. Then you can also get Check C. Check C are four stimulus checks in every U.S. state, plural checks. $2,000 a month. The direct deposit, MSC, every month on average is what viewers are getting, but many viewers are getting a lot more money, upwards of $100,000 to $200,000. This is the residue of third stimulus. Yes, I call it fourth stimulus for purposes of making it easy on this channel, but this is the residue of third stimulus. What is this money for? It is for your rent, your utilities, your mortgage assistance, and more. And where do you get this money? You reach out to a series of places. You're going to reach out to your city hall. You're going to reach out to your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority. And you're going to say a series of words and a series of nonprofits you're going to reach out to. And what do you do and how do you do it? It's all featured in the membership newsletter. You go down in that membership newsletter, and in there it describes Check C. You go right down into Check C in the membership newsletter, and it tells you where to call, who to say, what to say, and how to say it. And the great news is that all you got to do is just follow the instruction of the newsletter. $2,000 a month, MSC, that's what viewers are getting, but many viewers have gotten a lot more money from this, and viewers continue to get this money from CheckC. CheckC started paying viewers out in December 2020. Then it became law in third stimulus in 2021, and viewers have been getting big sums of money on this ever since. And this is why it's important to continue to get these sums of money. Here are combos that Mark got, like 50,000. He went to 100,000 with CheckC, then to 166 because he got Check B a few days ago. Here's Lorraine from CheckC. Back in the day, she got 120. She was at 105. Here's Nisi. Back in the day, she got 23,000 for CheckC, but she's gotten about 4 more rounds of 8,000 since then. If you've had a success story, share it in the live chat right now for Check A, B, or C. And send to me on private message on Facebook. I'll feature it on air. You need these sums of money, and you want to get these sums of money. How do you do it? You just go into that membership newsletter and get the money right now. So let's recap what you do, how you do it, and how simple I've made it for you. To recap, this is the landscape tonight. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state, but it's not the way you did things before if you just found this channel. Step 1, you subscribe to this channel. There's no place on earth like this channel. Never will be. Step 2, you become a member. Join under this channel where it says membership link. Become a member tonight. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Step 3, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is West Coast Standard Time, I deliver to you via the YouTube alert system a membership announcement of the membership newsletter that night. You go right in there and you go down to Check A, see the link, hit it, go in there and apply. Go right down to Check B in the membership newsletter, hit it, and go apply. And go right down to Check C and learn about it, where you call and make the phone calls while you have that newsletter in front of you and do exactly what the newsletter says. Then there are also other checks in that newsletter besides Check A, B, and C, which are in every U.S. state. What are the other checks? There are Check D that are in some states, but not all. That Check D is in the membership newsletter, and it's described in there. In some cases, it's $2,000 on average as a forced stimulus check. In some of the states, about 24, it'll grow to more states across the board. Now, why is it so important to get this money? And what do I need to tell you that's new tonight about this money as well? Number 1. New tonight is we really are worried about 2023. We're very, very worried about 2023. It's going to be 2 years of recession. I've been warning that since February this year. But now when we have Wells Fargo coming out and saying much the same, although they're not saying it so definitively as I am, Deutsche Bank and Morgan Stanley, and we have a lot more banks saying that it's going to be really bad, folks. It's going to be really bad next year. What do we know? What do we not know about next year? We do not know next year whether there will be another stimulus package. For that situation, for the 2023 situation, thank goodness I found you checks now for this situation right now. So it's literally like you're at a buffet and there's a smorgasbord of checks in front of you. You grab them and you put them in your purse. I know you're not supposed to take the smorgasbord to go, but I'm telling you to take the checks to go. And you keep them in your purse, you save them, because next year, who knows how tight it's going to be. Now, here's what's also new tonight, is that there's big worries tonight that we may go into the recession earlier than initially thought, or the impact of the recession will be felt by you earlier than thought. If that's the case, let me tell you what's going to happen. Millions of Americans are going to start coming on this channel who are not watching the channel right now, and they'll say, I'm really suffering in October of 2022. I just got laid off of my job because they said they had too many employees on the floor and they're not selling the merchandise in the stores. Do they have that PUC anymore? No. Do they have PUA? Not. No, they don't. LWA? Nope, they don't. What do you have? I have these forced stimulus checks. I started recording them in March, but I don't know how much are left. Let me get them right away. Those people are coming behind you. They're coming behind you. That is why I need you as a viewer tonight to watch every video on this channel daily, to spend your free time getting these checks daily, then getting more money. We have mornings LALATE every day at 9 a.m., early mornings every day at 4 a.m. We have our early morning shows that start at 3 and 3:30. We have noontime at 11 a.m., which goes over routing times, very important, of when these checks arrive after you apply. We have afternoons at 1 and 3, and then we have evenings, which you're watching right now, or evenings countdown at 6, stream summers at 7, and evenings extra at 8, and then sunset at 9. It's important because the situation is changing so dramatically. With that, let me give you an anecdote. Let me give you a story that happened last night. Last night, when this show aired, someone was on the live chat and said the following, or wrote the following comment. So, for this forced stimulus check, does this mean I can do the non-filer filing for this? I thought to myself, the non-filer filing? That was from 2020. The non-filer filing was an event that happened in 2020 when IRS said we'll give you a stimulus check if you're not a tax return filer, and you can go to IRS and do a non-filer filing. That view is referring to something that ended in 2020 and referring to it now in 2022, when none of these checks have anything to do with IRS. That is why it's so important to know what the current situation is this moment. That view is stuck back in 2020 news stories. Not happening. And no, there is no non-filer filing. This is why it's so important to understand, because I got to tell you, you may have heard what Bernie Sanders said about Build Back Better Act in 2021, or what Joe Biden did, or what Nancy Pelosi did with Pramila in 2021 with Build Back Better. And you may be thinking about 2021. Stop thinking about 2021. You got to think with the present. You may have thought about, well, this is how I got a check in 2020. This is how I got a check in 21. Can't think about it because the situation is changing very quickly. I got to tell you, it was 2 months ago I said, don't talk about last year. Now we have an economy that is evolving into a universe that we have not seen for a generation. We've not been in a recession for a generation. I don't know the last time the U.S. economy saw stagflation. If we go to stagflation, that may be something we haven't seen in many, many decades. That is why you can't compare anything to what you did before. What's this community going to be like? What's this Purple Power community going to be like? It's going to be exactly evolving back to how it was in day one. Day one, a pandemic hit. You had to shut your doors. You couldn't leave. You lost your job. Your business got shut down. And you need to hustle right away to get wads of cash, because this is a calamity hitting like a truck. Do you remember what happened in those first few weeks of spring 2020? It was a calamity hitting really hard. Tonight, it doesn't look like a calamity hitting really hard. It sort of looks like electric car about to run out of battery power. It's starting to stall up, and people aren't really grasping the severity of what's going to come in just a few blinks of the eye. What's going to happen is that the economy is going to stall very quickly. People are going to get laid off. People are going to have problems with housing, problems with auto, problems with a lot of problems. And they're going to look really quickly for that money, and they're going to have to follow exactly what I'm saying in the recordings. In 2020, I show people how to get that ELWA or that PUA or that FPUC or that EIDL, that EIDL grant. It required an effort, and you've made such a great job with that effort in recent days. You made such a great job by applying for that check A, by applying for that check B, by making the phone calls for the check C, and going in back and forth, getting more money, like Nisi, who keeps on getting $8,000 or $9,000. You've made such a great effort. You're going to have to keep on doing that effort now when that money's available. Now, I know it's hard to do stuff when it's not an urgent situation. I'm telling you right now. There's a storm out to sea, and that storm that I've been saying is out to sea is coming on land potentially earlier. So you need to grab these checks across the board as fast as possible. That's why 2 weeks ago, when I recorded on this channel, the importance of understanding Allied 101, learning that a forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state, right in the live chat right now, that a forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. I need to get on point with you. I need you to get on point so that we can go to the next step. What is the next step? How do I get the checks? The next step is, am I filling out the application correctly? Am I doing this the right way? People are asking about routing times. Those are great questions. That's where we got to take the sophistication level. That's where we got to take the learning curve really quickly, because you got to get these checks right away. I mean, this is an urgent situation. Let's turn to the gasoline, because this is something that impacts everyone. And this is getting very confusing very quickly. Why is it confusing more so tonight than even last night? Yeah, China. China tonight is signaling that there may be new concern about Omicron subvariant that we did not know. Over the last 3 weeks, no, actually 2 weeks, I had said that China's coming off a lockdown in June. We had gotten those indications. Remember, China's on lockdown. Because China's on lockdown, it's causing two types of supply chain disruption. Number one, our goods that we make there can't get back into our products, or their products that we buy from them can't come back to us. And then their consumption of gasoline is non-existent because they're not driving, they're locked in their home. I said that when they come off of lockdown, they're going to start driving their cars, and that price of gasoline is going to go through the roof. I said last night it was going to go to 120 a barrel, international Brent crude. What's news tonight? Tonight, we're seeing indication of that China's subvariant of Omicron may be far more serious than thought just 3 days ago. And if that's the case, that means that China's staying on lockdown. If China's staying on lockdown, then what happens? Our inflationary pressures continue to go up. And the gasoline will hover where it is right now or murk a little bit up slowly. So gasoline may not jump as I initially had projected if China's lockdown gets worse. But if China's lockdown gets worse, then our corporate America, our consumer goods, our price items in the stores will be getting worse very, very quickly. This is why the situation is evolving very problematic across the board. Let's turn to student loan debt forgiveness. This is one of those events that I think you're going to hear from Joe Biden. You're not going to hear this from Joe Manchin. You're not going to hear this from Kristen Sinema. And I think Joe Biden is leaving this for the midterm elections. That is my opinion. There's no reason for him not to announce his determination of $10,000 of student loan debt, which many insiders, including myself, believe he's going to announce. He's already forgiven student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation. Then individuals who went to work in the nonprofit or public sector. Then individuals whose debts were procured by fraud have been forgiven by the White House as well. He took your debts that were in default and put them in good standing. And he said if your debts were due in May, he's going to roll them over to September. When asked about $50,000 just days ago, he said, I'm not doing $50,000. This, of course, is 7 stimulus. So what's left? Many insiders, including myself, believe it's 10,000. That's the magic number. But when? It's likely that the announcement will come right before the midterm elections. Of course, the primaries were just days ago. And that would be very important. If you're a viewer to this channel, if you're a member of this channel, I want you to write down the following words and watch the next video after this. I'll detail it more. The IDR credit, the public service loan forgiveness, and the income-based loan program. Those are the 3 items that Miguel Cardona, head of education, is doing to try to get some of your debts forgiven. How do you learn about this? Number 1, go to the Department of Education's website. Number 2, go under the press releases and read any press release from Cardona in recent days that talks about student loan debt forgiveness, because he has a lot of data in there and I don't have time to record it in a single video. But what Cardona is doing is he's modifying the language of the statutes so more of you qualify for the debt forgiveness. And it starts with some of those words like the IDR credit, like the public service loan forgiveness program, and like the income-based repayment programs. Write those words down. Some of them are also in the membership newsletter, and go and read that on their website. That is 7 stimulus. I think it's coming across the board. Today featured the corporate earnings from Kohl's and Ross stores. We're going to see more corporate earnings as well. But it's a night in which the Dow was down about 300 points, NASDAQ relatively flat, but it's just a horrific week, and it's going to get worse. Bitcoin is trying to stay at 30,000 a can. Ethereum is trying to stay at 2,000 a can. Decentralized is trying to stay at $1 a can. Crypto is just imploding. And then when we look at stocks are down below their 52-week moving average. Some of the investment community is trying to keep their client base, but they can't. Trying to tell you it's the bottom, buy. Don't buy. It's not the bottom. It's not the bottom. We're far from the bottom. And when you have a 2-year recession coming, how can this be the bottom when we're only in May? So it's very, very problematic across the board. The housing numbers today is exemplary of why data is sometimes difficult to analyze. The data for the housing market looked sort of good numbers. I mean, when you read the numbers just in face value, they look like it's a strong housing market. Then when you realize these are homes that went into contract to sale back in February, did not close until April. Well, these are people who were buying in February based upon a 3.5% mortgage rate. If they wanted to buy with a 3.5% mortgage rate in April, they couldn't because it was 5.8% by then. Yeah, so that's why it's always important to know the impact of when the data was released to know its impact on you. Build Back Better Act. We'll certainly see the negotiations from Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer continue to evolve, but they're likely not to give us details of what is the it. They're likely not to tell us what the it is. The it is likely to be very different than what the Build Back Better Act was in 2021. How different, we don't know. Jay Powell, meantime, is likely to do his it. And what is his it? Another half basis point increase in the June FOMC meeting. Liz Warren is likely to be unhappy with whatever's going on with Chuck and also Joe, and so is Bernie likely to be unhappy. Meantime, the White House has really not signaled a solution to oil, wheat, grain, or corn, which was also supposed to be sick stimulus, and that's likely to still happen as the White House continues to talk about the war in Ukraine, but not really speak too much about economic agenda. What's my takeaway on that tonight? Here's my opinion. It's not fact, it's just opinion. I think the White House does not want to talk about Build Back Better Act that publicly because they don't want to talk about it and then don't show it happening or not happening that day, and then it looks bad for the White House. So I think what the White House is doing is just having Chuck and Joe Manchin deal with it, and then the White House keeping zipped about it and trying to hope that Bernie stays zip about it while the situation continues to negotiate. Now, to recap what I said earlier in this video is I do not repeat, do not want you in the live chat saying, what day is the vote on the Build Back Better Act? I don't want you to even spend 1 second wondering what date the vote is on the Build Back Better Act. Because the Build Back Better Act of 2022 may be very different than 2021. And more importantly, have you gotten every check from check A, B, and C, and D? Well, if you have, then you can ask what day is the Build Back Better Act vote. If you haven't, I don't want you to focus on that at all. I need you to get those check A, B, and C because the storm out to sea is right close to land. It's coming in sooner. And when people say we're at the cusp of a bear market, folks, we are in a bear market. When people say, well, maybe we've turned the tide and we're coming back and that was just a little dip, it was not a dip. It's the start of a downward spiral, a spiral that's going to go down for 2 years and people are going to lose their shirts. People have flexible mortgage rates, and people have car loans or credit card debt. Those are people going to really be impacted, especially like people who are on benefits, people who are low-income individuals who are impacted most by inflation. And guess what? If you work at a big box retailer, don't be surprised you start seeing layoff announcements as well. Can you imagine how quickly this economy has changed? From everyone saying that we have a shortage of workers to less than 2 months saying we have too many workers and we need to start getting rid of some of them. That's how economies change so quickly. But I'm always here with you across the board. So God bless to all of you. Congratulations to all of you who have gotten that check A, that check B, or that check C application in. Go get another application. Go get that membership newsletter. Step 1, subscribe. Go to the top of this channel and subscribe. You're not going to see anywhere across the landscape any breadth of reporting like this anywhere else. Don't search for someone to tell you what you want to hear and then simply just have someone read you a script. Stay here because I'm here to get you the checks, the cash. Step 2, become a member. Go to the top of the chat and become a member. Join Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calciano VIP. Step 3, get that membership newsletter. It's delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. West Coast time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Central. Delivered via me to you via the YouTube alert system. Look for the subject line that says New LALATE Member Post, and then it says, there it is, newsletter. It has the date. Go right in there, click, apply for check A, check B, and make the phone calls for check C. And then stay with me throughout the night. Come back tomorrow morning, and then stay throughout the day. Tonight, evenings LA at 5, 6 o'clock, countdown, 7 stream symbols, 8 extra, then 9 o'clock sunset. Tonight, then after that, are overnight shows. Early mornings start before sunrise, with sunrise at 3 and 3:30, and then we go into early mornings LA at 4. At 7 o'clock is LA Countdown for mornings, and then mornings LA at 9 a.m. Back on at 11 a.m., and then we repeat the cycle for 1 and 3 o'clock afternoon. We don't know what's going to happen in 2023 for stimulus, but we certainly know what's going to happen with this economy. It's not going to be good, and that is why I have my deepest thoughts and prayers with you, and also my focus to get those big sums of money. I can't make the phone call for you. I can't apply for you. All I can do is say, here it is. Organize in a way for you to get that money in a way that you feel proud and prosperous. Go get it. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, good evening. And this has been Evenings LALATE.